Hello. Say hi.
Welcome. Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the Ethnis stream. Let me turn off my... Jesus. There we go. That was totally on purpose. It's not a stream if you don't have one technical difficulty, right? And that was pretty good as far as they go. So, welcome to the Ethnis stream, where we will fumble around for a few hours. And by a few, I mean hopefully just the one. And we're going to show you all about, sorry, I'm looking off to the side, I'm figuring something out. We're going to show you all about Ethnis Light, which is the RPG we are working on. One of a couple we're working on. This is like a kind of a preliminary step. What you heard coming in was music by NVR Summer. It is the Ethnis theme. It is called the Infinite Wheel. And it's coming along pretty good. I see someone already asked what's the wheel doing on the table there. Well, the truth of the matter is, Ethnis has merch. You can see got a laptop sticker. Show them your laptop sticker.
Oh, yes. Branding.
Mostly made it for myself, but you know, I realize I could totally just share it with you guys. And if you wanted to buy, like, I don't know, an Ethnis t-shirt or something.
Right now, we're bummed out because the t-shirts haven't gotten here yet. We're supposed to be wearing them for the stream, but we wanted to do a bit of quality checking before we got it out to you guys. But I know Happy was begging me for a link for the Ethnis shirt. Oh.
Thank you, Secondhand, for the subscription.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
Had to get that wheel icon. All right, so let's jump right into it, I guess, since we've already got enough people to get rolling. So today we're going to be covering primarily Ethnis Light, but we've got a whole bunch of exciting news. We've got new art, we got the music, which you heard, and we got some stuff about heroes to show off. So without further ado, bam. So starting out, Ethnis Light, tabletop RPG and narrative universe. It is now public, it is now live. You are free to read along with us or to read ahead of us and to ask questions that are going to make us fumble. Right now the page is kind of at a basic point. It's alpha, which for us means it's fairly feature complete. There's only a few things that we haven't got written down, which includes magic and gear. But we know how both are going to work. We just haven't got them up yet. We just wanted to show off what we've got so far and get you guys involved. So I'll take it from the top in a minute. But first what I want to go over is introducing ourselves, because I realized I didn't do that. I'm Adamal. This is Baron. We are the developers of the Ethnis Universe and tabletop role-playing games. That's right, games. There's plural. There is Ethnis Core, which is going to come out probably on the other side of the apocalypse, but right now we've got Ethnis Light, which is a bit of a distilled version for TTRPGs, and it uses FUDGE dice, which, if you don't know what FUDGE dice are, they are a narrative dice that has a plus, a minus, and a blank. And you roll them together, and the more pluses and minuses you have, it creates a narrative outcome. Or, as World Building Wizard says, they're dice made of fudge.
Don't eat these.
Also, to answer a question in chat, mate, what about Ethnis Dark? Ethnis Core is Ethnis Dark. Because if you've read the themes...
I think Ethnis Light can also be Ethnis Dark. That really depends on your narrator character.
That's true. They don't know what narrator characters are yet, though.
Exactly.
So that does lead me to one of the definitive parts of Ethnis Light, but I shouldn't go there yet because there may still be questions about what Ethnis is. I don't know who on this stream knows what Ethnis is and who's just kind of wandered in off the street. If you wandered it off the street, welcome. There is coffee in the back if you would like some. No cookies. We ate those.
Oh. Cookies are over there.
You want to go grab some?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway,
cookies. See you later.
Ethnis is a narrative universe for use with books, flash fiction, and tabletop role-playing games, and then in the far future and in the far past, video games, because that's where we started, and then we decided to kind of roll it back and say, okay, we need to establish our world. We got into world building, did a bunch of world building, World Anvil happened, fed our addiction, and now we have a 600-page World Anvil account. And we're probably going to hit 1,000 pages somewhere in the next year. We'll see. Whose sentence? I will actually make me make dice out of fudge. That is a rec sentence. How could you do that to us? Okay. Cookies for the stream. I'll hit that in a minute. I don't want to be stuffing my face while I'm talking.
I will, don't worry.
Right into it. If you want to see a little bit about Ethnis itself, I'd recommend clicking the link I posted. I'm posting again. We've got an introduction to Ethnis, which dives you right into it if you're not sure where to go. Like if you want to be a reader, if you want to be a player, it tells you how to. You can jump right over to it here. Introduces you to all the species, or Safat, which are it's kind of an interchangeable term in this case. And you will see we've got some pretty good art there. I did this one, but these two are by a wonderful artist by the name of Anti. Can you drop the link to his stuff? And if you want to get a closer look at that art, let me pull that up for you. This is all hype so that you can just see how much love and effort we're putting into this universe. This is the Baron. They've got all this pretty art. This is all Ethnis owned. You can get a real good look at this fella. This is a Feo, which is one of the types of Baron. And over here we've got Kona Helm's High, which he's got some cool stuff you might want to look at, because he's going to be our hero that we're going to be talking about today, because he ties into the hero system, which I will go over in a minute. If you are new to World Anvil, you haven't seen it before, I would highly recommend checking it out. It is a real building platform. It is a campaign manager's dream. It is a writer's heaven. It's got everything you want in a bag of chips, and even more coming.
Thanks for the bits, by the way, Happy. Solid $2.
Thank you.
Kona hype needs to be a thing. He needs his own emote.
Kona hype, yeah. Well, that's he might just have accidentally become our spokesman character.
Oh God.
Okay, so spanning from the Ethnis universe, we have Ethnis Light, tabletop RPG and narrative universe. It's not strictly tied into Ethnis, despite the name. It's open to multiple settings. In fact, we have 2 people on the stream who are using it and integrating it into their universe. We have...
I get the links.
Okay, we have Happy with his world Minicia, which is starting a campaign very soon with me and Baron and Hummingbird. And Tyler's going to post a link to that world in a moment.
Yes.
And then Hummingbird herself has a world called Cicada Cycle, which will also be supporting Ethnis Light. You're going to see a link to that in a moment as well.
Bam!
If you like the Ethnis Light system as we presented today, please join the Discord, because we are looking for people who would like to integrate it into their world, and we will personally help you do it. We will help you write the mechanics and all sorts of fun stuff like that. We'll promote you. If you promote us, it'll be a big whole fun thing, because we want to iron this out. We want to make it like a good core system for multiple worlds.
Thanks for the sub, secondhand.
Awesome.
Cheers!
So to dive right into it, what makes Ethnis Light special? Well, it uses fudge dice, but a few systems use fudge dice. But the important thing to know about the Ethnis Light RPG is that the narrator, or the game master, is a player. Just as a player has to adopt a character and play as that character, the narrator gets to adopt a character and play as them. And so in session 0, when everyone's making their character, everyone helps make the narrator as well. And you can create these different tones. So, for example, when we're playing, my narrator tone is usually more melodramatic, horrific, existential crises, stuff like that. Whereas when Baron's running a game,
He's Ethnis Dark and I'm Ethnis Light.
there we go, we got it.
I'm pretty much like, it's interesting because we're integrating these narrators with heroes slowly because we're realizing, oh man, if you have these narrator characters, you can kind of make a persona that a GM can play as while they're playing. So like while he's the darker, more like a depressing GM, they'll give you like a really not terrible story, but like a heart-wrenching story. I give them more of a upbeat, high adventure, all aboard for fun sort of thing. Of course.
Choo choo, choo choo. Yeah. I count my successes a number of times I can make my players cry and puke. So
it's been about 3 times for me.
So as I've linked the Adam the narrator profile, there's not a whole lot to see to it yet, but you're gonna kind of see in that space what narrators are about. So if you want to keep an eye on him.
Oh, by the way, if I may, I will say for everyone who's been donating and giving us subscriptions, just so you know, that money that you're giving us is going straight back into Ethnis. Like, I think the last piece of art was funded entirely on our Patreon money, which is super awesome to see. And the more that we get there, the faster this stuff can go. And so every donation, every subscription, every Patreon person is making Ethnis reality, and I just want to thank you guys seriously for those bits, for those subs.
Yeah,
Much love.
It makes a big difference because the art can rack up, music can rack up, all of that like takes money and effort, and we're gonna do it no matter what. But the more love we get, the more encouraging it is, and the more it helps us put it out there. So, as I was saying, we've got the narrator character, and what this is that you're looking at, if you're not familiar with World Anvil, is Heroes. Heroes is a recent update which allows you to take a character from your world or as a standalone and have a platform for that character for people to interact with. If you have a hard time wrapping your head around that, think about a lot of the online games where people play characters, like there's live streams of D&D and stuff like that, and you want to interact with those characters. A lot of them will have Twitters right now. This is a great alternative because it allows you to interact with their in-character posts, and then you have out-of-character posts like this one. I don't have a whole lot on here yet, but we do have our buddy Kona. So as you can see here on his profile, I have marked that he is on Heroes. So if you want to say hi to Kona, you can hop on over and have a chat with him. And as more and more Heroes mechanics get added, you can probably interact with him more and more. Like for example, I think we're hoping to see people allowed to like submit questions or commentary or just other interactions with him. So if you want to interact with both fans or with other players, it's a great way to do that. If you're writing a story, it's a great way to kind of promote the story. If you want to put your main character on here and have him interact with people or ask questions like that. So check it out. It's really great. I'll get back to that in a minute. So I'm going to roll all the way back to Ethnis Light here. So, as we mentioned, we have narrator characters, and that's part of what sets Ethnis Light apart. And the reason for that is, as I'm going to dig into the mechanics here, the narrator you create actually changes the mechanics of the game a bit. So, to kind of dive into it, every character is made, every person makes a character, and that becomes your player party as standard in D&D and stuff like that. And then the narrator makes their character, and when they're making their character, based off of the tone, themes, and trials you want to tie into them, like for example, to use like Baron the narrator as a character, his tone is more upbeat and adventurous, and his themes are about like exploring the unknown and like teamwork and stuff like that. And the trials are more like dungeoneering and like high combat and high like fantastic battles. And so those come together, and you use that to determine your starting narrator abilities. And what your narrator abilities do is they are things that the players have to avoid or to try to trigger that grant them bonuses or malices to their situation. And the way that works is it's all tied into the conflict system. Your standard combat 5-second rounds. Well, in our case, it's 5 seconds. In D&D, I think it's 6 seconds. And
should we go through a round, perhaps?
we can describe it. Before we go there, does anyone have any questions? I should probably explain character creation a little bit more first. I guess I will. I'll roll back to character creation, then we'll touch on how a round works. Sorry, I'm just excited.
It's been 2 days of us losing our minds about this stream.
Yeah, a little bit. Anyway, so like I said, when you're creating your narrative character, you also create your player characters. And the way a player character is created is they are created from kind of the junction of 4 different things. Their savant, which is their major species. A savant in Ethnis is any species that is capable of magic and like self-reasoning and stuff like that. I'll post a link to what a savant is here. You can kind of see we've got 3 main ones, which is the Varen, the Sazashi, and the humanity, and humanity, and the humans. And within them, like within the Varen, there are the Varen kinds, which are the Chea, Saude, Feo, Fecha, Luea, and Mannequin. And to put that better, it would be more like desert, forest, highlands, snow, water. And then they were artificially made. The last ones. Dolls, but still human. Then you've got Sazashi, and you've got humanity, and there's this whole huge back history about how they all interacted, how they met. I'm not going to dig into that right now because this is more about the RPG, but if you want a lore stream sometime, let me know.
Essentially, when you choose your savant, you choose what race you're going to play.
Mm-hmm. So that's one part of your backstory. The other part is your provenance, which I don't think we have this page super filled out yet. Just going to see how shameful it is real quick.
1 out of 6 ain't bad.
Yeah. So what your provenance is where you hail from. So it can be hub worlds, it could be colonies, it could be space nomad, but it determines like the circumstances of your upbringing and your birth and gives you starting abilities and a value. And what values are they're like proverbs. Actually, we're renaming them to mantras. So what a mantra is it's like a proverb that your character lives by. And it's added to your character sheet, and when you fulfill a mantra, when you fulfill a mantra, you get a bonus. And what that bonus is will depend on your banner, but it has a secondary effect of resetting one of your abilities. I'll get to that again in a moment. There's a lot of jumping around I have to do to explain everything because it's all interrelated. Next part is your banner, which is your like major faction. So if you were in Star Wars, your banner might be the Empire or the Rebellion. If you were in
if you're on Earth, your banner could be the United States of America, or it could be it's all, the thing is like a lot of this is left open to what scale of campaign you want. We have the examples for Ethnis, but if you're porting it to your world, you get to choose the scale of all of these things. So for example, a banner could be, if you're playing a really local campaign, it could be like, my banner is Sacramento in, or something like that. Or you can go as big as the United States or as big as Earth. I mean, you can just choose what sort of political faction you're a part of, I guess is the best way to put the banner.
Yeah, so whatever scale your game operates at is the scale your banner should operate at. Now, in our main example for Ethnis is intergalactic, so the banners are intergalactically sized. And then the last part of your character creation is you choose a mantle. And a mantle is it's like a profession, and it works a little differently in that when you choose your mantle, you pick one ability and you gain that. You can level up your mantle and you can pick one of the other abilities, and then you can get a 3rd rank in it and get the 3rd ability. You can kind of mix and match, but most of these abilities get more powerful the more ranks of the mantle you have. For example, the exemplar here can re-roll X pairs of dice, where X is his number of ranks in exemplar. So if he just gets 1 rank of exemplar, he can re-roll 2 dice. But if he gets all 3 ranks, he can re-roll 6 dice. So that can be extremely powerful. So it's all about, like, do you want to multi-class out, or do you want to stick in one place? And there's not really a right answer. It's really about
and the way this is balanced is like, yeah, these abilities are supposed to be really strong. It's supposed to kind of give a player an ace in the hole. The narrators also have abilities that are kind of like their aces in the hole, which are the narrator abilities we talked about before, and they can call those just to kind of spice up the normality of the campaign for a while. These abilities, if they're activated, you only get to use them once, and you get them back either by taking a rest in game or by fulfilling one of those mantras that we talked about earlier. So it's definitely going to become an interesting game of tactics between the narrator and the players to see how they can be the most efficient, who can use their tokens the most efficiently, their abilities.
Mm-hmm. And the nice part is you don't have to worry too much about team comp, because there isn't a downside for multiple people in the party having the same abilities. Some of them work really well together, but if you had a whole team of 1 build, that would still be horrifying to behold. So character creation is a matter of picking a font, picking a provenance, picking a banner, and picking a mantle. So you've made most of your character just from choices rather than roles, and that's one thing that happens in Ethnis, is that there's no randomization character creation. You build a character exactly how you want to. You will get a few points to spend to skills.
Your qualities, like upper body, lower body, and we...
No. That too. But stats, specifically skills, you can choose a couple skills.
Oh, gotcha.
So you can spin into the attributes, which is upper body, lower body, vitality, reflex, perception, magic, and nerve. But you can also choose some starting skills. And the way skills work in Ethnis is, well, at least in Ethnis Light, is there's basically an infinite amount of them, and you pick them. And there's kind of a guide that helps you choose, like, the scope of it. But for example, you can say one of my skills is engineering, one of my skills is piloting, and by making it up, you add it to your sheet, and any circumstance where you can convince the narrator that it's a piloting check or a weaponry check or an engineering check, they give you your bonus.
And you can see some of those skills on the mantle pages. And we do have a question from No Pants Bandit. So, is this meant to be played on the same scale as D&D and Pathfinder, where campaigns can last months or years? Or is it made for a shorter campaign that could last weeks or months?
So, I'm going to jump in on that one.
Absolutely.
It is mostly for shorter ones in the range of weeks. We expect top level to be somewhere around level 20, which is to say you're
gonna have a lot of gear and a lot of mantles, and
you're pretty powerful at that point. And that's about we expect you to level up about once per session, regardless of scale. So that's about 20 sessions. You can do that pretty quick. For a longer game, I would say, keep an eye on this, because we're working on Ethnis Core as well. And if we were to take like a higher level character from Ethnis Core and port them into Ethnis Light, the comparison would be, if the maximum level for Ethnis Light is 20, an Ethnis Core character would be somewhere around level 100.
Yeah, they get powerful. They get insanely powerful.
Like Ethnis Core, at that point you can get your character up to owning worlds, summoning armies, stuff like that.
For context, we've had a Ethnis Core game going, because we've been in basically alpha of Ethnis Core for years upon years, and we've had campaigns that are still going, and they started in 2015? Something
like that. Yeah, they get long. So the Ethnis Core is meant for the longer experience. Ethnis Light is it's light. You're not supposed to dally on it for years. You could, There is kind of a break point where you're gonna hit a wall when your characters are really high level, where you see that the setting is meant for like these really powerful battles, and you're like, you're playing a guardsman trying to kill corn in 40k by comparison. So it's not, yeah. And as a hummingbird pointed out, you're supposed to become a god in Ethnis Core. Like, yeah, becoming a god is considered a mid-level.
We'll have to have a migration pattern, like if you want to take your Ethnis Light character, Ethnis Core.
Oh, yeah.
The purpose of Ethnis Light is, the one thing I'd say in a sentence is, it's meant for something where everyone can pick up a $10 bag of dice and just get together for a weekend and be done with it within the weekend.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like a long board game is what we kind of want it to be, more of a storytelling thing.
And you can totally tell a longer story, but it's really meant for getting the core experience of light, or the experience of the core game, but distilled down for like just having fun with your friends.
And the other aspect of Ethnis Light that's great, sorry,
No, go for it.
to me is since we're trying to make it as system agnostic as we can. Yes, we are making Ethnis the world. Yes, it is absolutely kick-ass and the coolest thing ever. But with Ethnis Light, you have this way where people who are not exactly DMs can have a system to tell stories in their world. Because we're trying to make this as simple and as approachable, and there's no like 2-day character creation or things like that. Because I've seen how crazy D&D character creation can be. This is something where if you have a world that you really love, that you've made or that someone else has made, and you just want to have a system that you can plug and play into it, that's what Ethnis Light is.
Yeah, if you're like passively versed in some of the character creation stuff here, you can make a character in about 10 minutes. It's literally just pick one, spend a couple points, grab a couple items, and you're on your way. But if you want to do higher levels, they just give you right here I have leveling tokens. It's actually supposed to be plot, but the narrator can say, yeah, take 4 more plot, and you're like, okay, I'll put 2 more points into my mantle, 1 more point into my attribute, and I'm 3 levels higher now, and that's it. Like when you level up, you spend one thing, you get one thing, and it goes from there. On the note of leveling, because the narrator is a character, the narrator levels as well. So the entire campaign levels up together. There's no like this character leveled up separately from this character. It's the narrator and the players all level up together. So the players spend their stuff on upgrading their mantle or getting new gear or upgrading their savant and using some of their like racial abilities or getting new stats. The narrator buys more abilities, and the abilities are cool because
we still haven't gone through a round yet.
Yeah, you can't really explain that without explaining around. So I guess we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, character creation is kind of supposed to be this fun process. It's supposed to bring in GMs who, they want to play as well. I don't know yet how well this game stacks up for people who are coming in from other systems, if pre-expectations make it harder or more enjoyable. But because a lot of the people I've brought in are people who don't have a ton of experience already. So
we definitely would like some opinions from people who have played a lot of D&D or played a lot of Warhammer and all these games, so they can give us some feedback and some opinions.
Mm-hmm. Ashwolf, I see you're saying like you think you could handle it. Like we were saying,
come on in.
Yeah, come on in. But like we were saying, it's meant for integration into people's worlds. It's going to be designed for World Anvil in mind. If you join the Discord and you want to integrate it into your world, we will help you integrate to make your own savants, provenance, banner, mantles, gear, and stats. So, and that's really all you need to integrate it into your world. Everything else, like monster blocks, we will help with that as well. But it's really going to be straightforward to jump in with. Thank you.
And yeah, I'll know. Just wait till Core comes out. I mean, get into Ethnis Light, absolutely. As we keep getting this done, I think there's going to be more and more games of it played. We'll see. But Ethnis Core, tell you what, that's going to be a nice, meaty system that I'm looking forward to getting out there.
Yes. So yeah, and yeah, it even is like, yeah, any setting. any setting anyone wants to try. I've tried to make the even though it looks really sci-fi here, that's because it's set in Ethnis. I've tried to make the RPG blocks kind of agnostic, and I'm probably going to try and make some like fantasy and sci-fi variants of it. But really, it's supposed to be extremely standalone. You can define these in any ways you want. For example, Minicia, Happy's setting is more fantasy. His Savant, he's got the Morknar, which are these crow-like people. He's got the Juruns, if I'm saying that right, which are the cat-like people. And he's got the humans. So his Savant is that. His provenances are his world takes place in one country, basically. And so his provenance is like, basically, are you an insider or are you an outsider? If you're an insider, which region are you from? And his banner is like, which political faction here are you from? And his mantles are like border guard, engineer, stuff like that. So it scales, and it goes to any setting type, from fantasy to sci-fi to anything else. Yep. So on to how to actually play it once you've made your character. So it plays out fairly standard in a lot of ways, which is, the narrator decides where you go and what you do. The narrator's abilities aren't limited in that regard. They still build your dungeons. They still, run you through adventures. But when conflict starts, and conflict is any scenario where a challenge rises, it can be a trap, it can be a fight, it can be arguing. It all boils down to the same conflict resolution scenario. And the everything is resolved through the narrator dice. Or the narrator's dice. Fudge dice.
The narrator dice.
Yeah, that's different. Each round is 5 seconds. And the way it works is, first you determine your turn order. And one thing about Ethnis Light is that turn order is somewhat static. You don't roll for it. You just know your number. And your
Based
number,
off your reflex.
Yeah, your number is your reflex. So for example, if you have level 4 reflex, you go higher than anyone who has under level 4. If there's a break even, players take precedence over NPCs, and you can either settle by dice, coin toss, or if you're feeling feisty, a fist fight. Anyway, when the round starts, all the belligerents, which are allies, enemies, players, they're all lined up by their reflex. You can just jot them down, hold that up, and everyone knows their turn. And all of the players will put an ante of dice before them.
I'm going to say my ante's 5.
Yep. So an ante is kind of an important thing to consider, and it's maybe one of the most important parts of the round.
And we'll go over why.
Yeah, because you can ante up to 8 dice. But the more you ante, the more risk you're taking on. And the way that works is you have to ante your dice before you throw them. So you're going to put 8 dice in front of you. He's going to put 5 dice in front of him. And I'm going to roll 8 dice. And maybe your teammates will look at you a little worried because they know what that can mean. 5 dice, they're like, okay, that's fair. It has to be in pairs of 2, though.
Oh. Good catch.
He's going to do 4. So it has to be in pairs of 2 because you have to put 2 dice to any individual action you take. At least 2. You can put sets of 2, but it has to be sets of 2. And that's kind of just a balance thing that we found makes it a lot easier on everyone to just have that rule in. You want a cookie?
Why are we having cookies?
Come on over, wizard. We've got cookies.
Just a whole lot of cookies. I can't eat all these cookies.
Get swimming. That's a big ocean between us.
Well, the cookie you'll be able to eat the cookies because you lost all the weight by swimming across the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, so anyway, everyone's got their ante. Enemies are easy. We used to have enemies have an ante, and that was a nightmare because you had so many things going on the table, it made the narrator cry. So enemies just get either 1, 2, or 3 attacks, depending on how hard they are.
In your whole universe, a universe where conflict is solved via eating contest. You know what? That's actually part of Ethnis.
We've got news on that.
Yeah, we'll go over that later.
Yeah.
But there is actually something related to that.
You get used to hearing that with Ethnis. It's like, actually.
Yeah.
So anyway, so everyone's made their ante, and then they throw their dice all together.
I'm dead.
And you can't really see. But you'll have an assortment of dice. I would show you if I could, but it's not that easy.
Dice.
Did you get all blanks?
No, I got 1 plus, 2 blanks, and a minus.
Okay, so you got 1 plus 2 blanks and a minus. So now it goes around the table based off of reflex. When it's a belligerent's turn that's not a player, the narrator controls them. They get 1, 2, 3 actions, like I said, and that's usually like move, attack, or move and attack and do something else, interact with something. Very simple, resolves in a moment, straightforward. If they attack you, you have 3 action types that you can use, but 1 is used for reacting to that action, to someone
6.
attacking you. I need to change that, it's supposed to be reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got partials, checks, and reactions. Partials are for anything that doesn't require skill, but it requires time. Checks are for things you're targeting other people with, and reactions are for when you're targeted. So if an enemy attacks you and it's not your turn, he can
attack
use...
me.
Yeah, I'm going to use this... well, an enemy attacks you, it gets like a +1 to hit.
Okay, so
it's coming at you with like, I don't know...
I could either... I have to do it in sets of 2, and I have a plus and a
minus.
No, a plus and a regular, and a minus and a blank. So I would be like, okay, I can either defend myself, and with that plus, ties fall into players' favor, so I could defend myself by that. But I'm not going to, because if I do that, I have nothing to attack with. So I'm actually just going to use my negative and my blank. Just toss those to defend, maybe? Am I allowed to do that?
Yep. So it is better to use bad dice usually than anything, because it is assumed that if you defend with nothing, you defended with 2 negatives. So you're caught at basically a huge disadvantage. So if you have 1 negative and a blank, it's still better. Like, you're still hit, but it kind of soaks it a little bit. Then when it comes around to your turn, you can take actions. This is where you take your skills, like, oh, he's like, I've got a ++ to weaponry, and I've got my plus and my thing. So if I throw this, I'm going to attack that guy. I got 3 pluses to my attack, and we come down here to the resolution, and it's like, okay, well, that doesn't really get you much, because it doesn't get you up to the...
I gain ground.
You gain ground.
Or if I had like a martial ability to double hit, I could freaking attack twice on that. And there's a lot of ways you can play this out, but with that ++ or whatever I would have, and these skills on your character sheet, you get them when you create your character. It will really help you to make every little dice count. So that would leave me without any dice.
Yeah. But that's actually kind of a good thing, because that ties into the... so this is kind of standard for most systems, obviously. Check, reaction, attack, all of that. But what's different is, let's say I was the player that threw...
Here, let's just say I anteed 6 and I have a negative left over.
Okay, so... and then let's say at the table we've got 4 people, and someone has like a ++ left over. Someone decided that they weren't going to use any of their negatives because they threw a big hand, and so they have 4 minuses left over. And someone else has 2 blanks that we don't care about. And so all these dice that the players didn't use get pushed to the center of the table. And they become the narrator's dice. Now, this is where it gets tricky for the players. Easy to figure out, but becomes a big tactical thing. So as the narrator, I've got 5 negatives, 2 pluses, and 3 blanks. Now I look at my narrator sheet, and I've got an ability that lets me put a player into mortal peril if I have 4 negatives.
Mortal peril.
What?
Not moral peril.
Mortal peril. I said mortal. So I've got 4 negatives. I'm going to use that ability against them. Now one of the players is in mortal peril. I've got these 2 pluses. I've got an ability that allows me to add a little positive to the battlefield. I'm going to use that. And everything else I can't use, or something like that.
Of course, throughout all this, the GM is expected to and the players are supposed to have the story going on. So let's just say that mortal peril occurs, and I said mortal. Man, that's tough. That T is.
Yeah, so I'll be like, okay, while you're fighting in this storm, the ship's rocking, the mast breaks, and it comes down and it crushes you. It hasn't killed you or broken anything, but with the ship sinking and your head's only inches above water, what do you do?
Yeah, or like there's some like fog encompasses the battlefield, making everyone take a malice to the next turn. And we have all these abilities.
Yeah.
Or like there's some that are like reinforcements, like your skirmish brings about a new wave of enemies who comes into the fray. So you can kind of...
Yeah, so these are part of the narrator creation. When you create your narrator, you get these abilities. They're kind of generic to any situation. The reason why some use positives and some use negatives is that the narrator is obligated to use as many of the dice as possible that are put in his pool. So what that means is if all your players decide to use all of their positive dice and leave all their negative dice unused and push them to the center of the table, the narrator gets to trash them. But on the other side of that, the players can say, you know what, I don't need to succeed that hard this turn. I've got tons of positives from my skills. I'm going to use up my negative dice. I'm going to push all my positives to the center of the table. And now the narrator has to do all these really nice things for us. Like, oh, we've put 8 pluses into the center of the table. A mast comes down and crushes all of the enemies, or like a throng of enemies tries to arrive to back them up, but they crash their ship into the enemy ship and it starts sinking too. Like, these are the sort of narrative effects that now the narrator gets to bring into play. Now, the way they use these is up to them a bit, because some of the abilities, like, they may have multiple abilities that use 4 pluses, and so they get to pick which one they bring into play. But it becomes a very interesting choice of tactics, because now you want the players want to talk to each other and like, well, I'm going to be leaving negatives this round. Can someone help me? Like, does anyone have an ability that can maybe get rid of my negatives so that we don't give that to the narrator? Or maybe you can sacrifice some pluses to offset it. Like, what are some ways we can mitigate this? And so as the narrator, you get the fun of watching everyone kind of panic after they've rolled their dice and everyone's, chatting or arguing about the best way to play out the round. So you keep that going until every obstacle is overcome, and that's how you overcome. That's how you get past problems in Ethnis. So every situation you go into, like I said, space fights, pirate fights, fiery debates, overcoming traps, climbing a cliff, all of that is done using this system. So the narrator's abilities allow you to kind of amp up the drama or bring in like boons or negatives, and it becomes kind of fun because it becomes this back and forth of,
It's like a tug of war game.
Yeah, and it helps, especially for, like, this is a good system for young DMs, because I don't know about you guys, but the first time I ran a game, I wanted to kind of crush the players a little bit. And this kind of tempers you back a little bit. Like, it helps you understand that it's your job as a narrator to provide both bonuses and negatives to make it fun for people to have this kind of back and forth relationship when you're playing. So it's really good for that, and it's been a ton of fun so far.
Yeah, I think we got to establish after that is that Ethnis Light, or none of the Ethnis systems are really designed to be a players versus narrator thing. Like, the goal of Ethnis Light and stuff is not to kill your players. It can happen, and it should be a powerful moment when it happens. But yeah, it's definitely not PVG, which I'm saying player versus God. So.
Yeah. So that's something, it comes up a lot, is Ethnis is brutal. And that is reflected in here. As we'll get to the wound system, you will see that wounds include getting limbs ripped off, getting organs ripped out, getting your skin flayed, stuff like that. It is brutal because it is kind of trying to put off death as long as possible. And that sometimes means getting your character torn to pieces and limping away and getting bionic arms and bionic eyes and getting organs rebuilt.
It's very much like RimWorld.
And so, would you rather just lose your character, or would you rather like have half his carcass dragged away and resurrected in the next fight, but you have to have all these physical augments? So it becomes a matter of, well, if we're going to avoid characters being lost, how do we keep it fun? Well, there's still loss to be had. You don't necessarily want to be torn to pieces. Some of the bionics are nice, some of them suck. Sometimes it's a trade-off. So it's fun in that regard. And that actually brings us to our trauma section. reading right off of it, it is inevitable that your adventures will take their toll, leaving you exhausted, wounded, or insane. These collectively are known as trauma. How these affect you, how you handle them, and what the long-term effects are will differ per character, per trauma, and per situation. Make your choices wisely and invest into your safety, as a bad turn of events can end in a broken limb, shattered mind, or catatonic exhaustion. I'm not going to open these individually here, partially because they still need some love, but also because there's a lot to them. Health is done as a wound system.
Stab me. Tell me how a wound works. No.
Okay.
If you insist.
I don't have my blade handy for the
Excellent.
for the joke. Anyway, so yeah, it depends on what kind of damage is coming in. If you've played systems with like heavy wounds mechanics before, you might have seen some of this. So it's like, okay, I'm taking burning damage. I get to determine which limb is hit, and then the outcome of that. You keep that as a status effect. There's triage. If you triage a limb, you get rid of its current status effect, but it still has the long-term effect on the limb that has to heal. Sometimes it's just better to chop off the limb. It gets pretty brutal.
Would you say that, because we mentioned it, and it's going to be important for all this, of how important status effects are in Ethnis Light?
Yeah, so...
Sorry to
no,
roll.
that's fine. I think the best way to sum it up is there isn't a health bar. You don't go 10 health, 9 health, 8 health, 7 health. Instead, you get status effects. And if most of these status effects stack up high enough, they kill you. We're thinking about having it be a fixed 10, or we're thinking of having it be relative to your vitality attribute. But point being, if you get too many levels of bleed out, you run out of blood. If you get too many levels of stun, the collective concussion just does too much brain damage and you're dead. Too much levels of toxicity, you puke your brains out and die, so on and so forth. So every type of wound you can get grants status effects of some sort. Most of them you can make checks to shrug off. Some of them you need to actually do medical triage, so you hope you have someone on your team who's good at medical stuff. The medical triage allows them to heal you up. And then even then you'll have the long-term effects, which can take time to heal. And while everyone in Ethnis tends to heal faster than normal, there's a canon reason for that. In your own setting, you may decide to remove that so that they heal slowly. It's still a process, and it's brutal, and you want to make sure that you've got good gear and that you're not just running into the battlefield in your undies.
And here's the thing: it sounds complicated because but we tried to make them as mechanically simple as we can. Like, we don't use any complicated algebra or even complicated arithmetic. Like, if something has to be multiplied or divided, it's pretty much out. Yeah. Everything should be every aspect of Ethnis Light, we aim to have it be able to be described in a single sentence. Like, this is a status effect. If you get stabbed, you get bleed. Bleed lasts this long, it does this. That's it.
So the only time you're rolling the dice is to make an action. You don't roll again to figure out where you're hit on the wounds chart or anything like that. Like, it goes to the wounds chart, and you go to the wounds chart, and it's like, if they pass the check on you by 3, you're hitting the head. If they passed it by 2, you're hitting the limb. And then, the narrator is encouraged to do like some sort of adjustment if you're turned a different way or something. So that's where he threw a negative earlier to protect himself a little bit, because if he didn't, it would be 2 negatives against him by default, and so that would make any wound worse. So just having it be the 1 is still better than nothing, because it means like, oh, maybe he got hit in the limb instead of the head. And when it's like a bullet, and a bullet to the head is pretty much an instant kill in most scenarios, he wants to get hit in the arm instead, or the shoulder, or whatever. Sanity works along similar bounds, except for you actually do have a sanity bar. And traumatic events whittle down your sanity, and happy events bring it back. Once your sanity hits 0, you gain an insanity. Those are pretty fun. We don't have the insanity blocks adapted over yet. But example ones are like...
Hunger. Hunger's always fun.
Yeah, hunger is a good one. Basically turns you into a cannibal in a lot of cases.
Or it gives you pica, or it gives you some kind of
Yeah.
urge to eat some sort of thing that it's normally not okay to eat.
Yeah, so these add basically rules to your character that you have to abide by, and if you don't abide by them, you lose more sanity. So every time you gain an insanity, your sanity replenishes, but the bar is shorter, and now you have that insanity to deal with. And if your insanity hits 0 again, it replenishes a little shorter, and you get another insanity. And so each one makes it harder to keep this number from going down. So you want to do story events like that. It's the narrator's choice when your insanity gets removed, and it's encouraged that it only gets removed when you face the problem or you fix the problem. In some cases you just can't remove it. Some of them really just suck like that. But the point is to never get your sanity bar to the point that when it replenishes at 0, which means you no longer have sanity at all, and you lose control of the character. That's never really happened, I think, in a game yet.
No, we haven't had we've had situations where people have started getting pretty insane.
Yeah.
But it requires probably a pretty long or pretty messed up campaign to cause someone to literally lose control of their character.
Yeah, but it is enough that it looms over you. You realize, I've already got 3 insanities, and I'm already having to do quite a bit to mitigate them whenever they pop up, because there are events that make them just happen. You just have to deal with it now. You could be in the middle of combat, and it's your insanity's acting up. You can't stay in the same spot each round because you're convinced something is following you. So it doesn't matter if you're in an area that's full of lava or acid and everything's shaky and every movement threatens to plunge you into the drink. You've now got to move or lose sanity every round. So it gets pretty fun like that. We've had some pretty crazy scenarios pop out of that. And the last one is stamina. And stamina is kind of your limiter on your abilities. Every time you use an ability, you gain a point of fatigue. And then the longer you're awake, you gain more fatigue. And if your fatigue passes your stamina threshold, however much you go over your stamina threshold, you start taking that as negatives to checks. Now, you can choose to stay up for a while, or you may even be forced to by a survival campaign. It's great for survival campaigns to bring in stamina. But you're going to start failing more and more and more until you get yourself killed or hurt or something like that. And there may be a point at which your party is just okay, someone grab the brick and put this guy to sleep because he's making so many mistakes. He's endangering us. So, like he said, we try to keep the math stupid simple. It really is just a matter of okay, health, you take this much damage. That translates to this wound because we know from the check that it hit you in the head. You take the 4th wound. Here's what the wound does. Add it to your character. We already know, okay, now you have a concussion and you need to just sleep it off. Well, not sleep it off. Don't sleep off a concussion, but you need to wait it off. So sanity is just a matter of sanity hit 0. Narrator says you get this insanity. Deal with it. Stamina is a matter of, okay, this number is higher than this number, so you take it as a negative to your checks. We made it sound complicated because we did a lot of work in the background to make sure that you don't have to do a lot of work as the narrator or the players. Because Ethnis has a lot of moving parts, but we try to keep the machine oiled. Everything comes together in downtime. Downtime is you can level your character. Downtime is when you're traveling, resting, doing a project, or spinning plot. Sometimes you can do multiple of these at once. Travel is self-spoken. Rest is self-spoken, gives you some stamina. Projects are your way of building something, which we'll get back to it in 5 seconds here. And spinning plot is I want to level up my character narrator. Projects are something that he and I have worked.
We go back and forth on it a lot.
Yeah.
And probably because we haven't had a lot of chances to really feel it out in ways of checks and stuff, because projects are a pretty new thing, so they haven't been part of this.
At this point.
I mean, not a lot of people in the campaigns we have done projects.
Yeah.
But we want them to be more important.
Yeah, so anything you want in Ethnis, and we hope when you bring it to your setting that you can kind of do the same. Anything can be made instead of bought, and anything can be designed and made as well. And we do this through a system called components. if you wanted to make Iron Man's armor in Ethnis Core playing in the Ethnis setting, you could do it. If you wanted to make Thor's hammer, you could do it. Kind of one of our baseline was, could you make the Avengers cast? Yes, you can. And the way that works is you break down their items into the things you want. So, for example, Thor's hammer summons electricity, hits real hard, is locked to one user, and comes uncalled. And each of those is a separate component that you can pull from the component catalog, or that you can make up on your own and run past the narrator, and the narrator will say, yeah, that's like an advanced check, and probably takes like 3 materials, and then bam, you can make it. And so once you've made all those components, you just say, I put them together into a single item, and bam, you have Thor's hammer. Iron Man's armor would be actually a little more complex because he's got so many onboard systems. But we've got...
But in general, it's coming down to the thing of like, as long as you have these materials that you can do, and of course there's different grades of materials and stuff. As long as you have the materials and you have the time, you can take on these projects to put the materials together. There's checks during these projects, so it's not just like I have the thing, it's done. But you go through these, and even like if you had all the base parts, you'd still need to do a project to put them all together, because there are chances to fail in all of this.
Yeah. And like, it sounds like a lot, but again, we went at this with the idea of making it as simple for you as possible. There's no multiplying, there's barely any adding. Here's the project page. It's pretty short.
And needs some love on it, but...
Yeah, so what it comes down to is, do you have the tools and materials? If you do, make as many checks as you have materials. A component will never take more than 5 materials. Materials are super easy to get because they're kind of your main reward for anything.
Well, except for like higher end gears where you have like a unique material that you need to find, or...
Yeah, the narrator has a way of saying, you can't just build that. You can't just build a time machine. You need this time rock.
You can't just build a nuclear reactor. You don't have any uranium.
Yeah, so the narrator's ways of limiting it, but in general, it just takes materials, and you can scrap materials out of anything, and you get a tool, and what tool you need is super easy to determine, and you build it. And so... to do a project, like to define it, like a player might go home and say, I want to make this. They flip through the components catalog. They say, I want to have this, 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 and this. And then they come back at you and say, yeah, this will take me like 8 checks of this and 4 checks of this. And you just do it really fast. And you say, okay, that takes you 12 hours and it's done. And now they have a new item in their inventory. You can have things pre-made, but this becomes big. Because it ties into the setting. I've been using it in examples of weapons and armor. However, I'm doing this for Ethnis. I encourage you to do it for yours. In the context of Ethnis, you can make life forms, you can make weapons, you can make armor, you can make new races, you can make vehicles, you can make space stations, you can make planets, you can make
equipment,
bases, you can make equipment, you can make spells. So everything ties together using the project system. And yeah, life systems, life forms. You can just like take organs and make those your components and make new life forms. So
why not?
Why not? You know,
life
finds a way. And then there's leveling and progression, which every time a chapter ends, everyone gets a point of plot. Narrator's level, player's level, good to go. And that's most of the system. There's a few things we need to iron out. Magic could use some love. Some of these could use some adaptation into light because currently they've got the core rule set on them.
Big thing is we need people to test this.
Yep.
Because we are developing this pretty much full time, as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And so playing it, we want it's hard. And so if anyone is interested, again, as we said before we explained all this, if anyone is interested in putting this in their world or having their own version of this, come into the Discord server and talk to us, because we will help you make it. We will help you do it. We will absolutely support you 100%. We never mentioned it, but this pretty much, Ethnis Light, we're releasing it at no charge pretty much.
No, we're releasing it at 0 charge.
Yeah, no charge. This is absolutely free for anyone to use. Of course, we ask that, you support it.
Yeah. So
as in like.
So to kind of explain the full breadth of this and our plans going forward with it, Ethnis Light is absolutely free 99, free.
Don't scare people with that.
It is free. It will remain free. All the core content we put out related to Ethnis Light, as it ties into the Ethnis narrative universe, will be free. Which will include a few basic races. It'll include the mantles. We've already got the mantles live. We've got the character sheet live. It isn't great yet, but it's up. All the provenances, all the banners, all of that's going up free, as well as some enemies. If you want more than that, we will be doing continued development on additional content, but that will be locked to members of the Patreon at the adept level. Do you want to link our Patreon?
Absolutely.
And the support page that explains what the tiers do and what tiers are upcoming, because there are more tiers coming. So support will get you like additional content as we release playable modules and stuff like that. And then the longer term goal for this is once we're done with it on the site, we're going to package it as a standalone PDF, which will be pay what you want. And then we will be packaging it as a standalone PDF with all of the Ethnis content, and that one we will charge for because it's going to have a lot more than the free stuff here. It's going to have a lot of the extended stuff as well. So, that's a lot. Thumbs down. If you want to play it, it's free now. It's not entirely playable.
And that's why we're willing to help you get it out.
Yeah, but we want you to join us. We will make it work with your system. We will address your concerns, and you'll get to actually help shape the growth of this game. So yeah, that's Ethnis Light in a nutshell.
But golly gee willikers, that ain't all we're doing right now, but I'm curious if there's any more questions on Ethnis Light. I would love to see if anyone's interested, like to give it a shout in the chat. I saw Ashwell saying this has been fun to listen to so far, which I really appreciate.
Ashwell, you should join our chat, our server.
Millet have been joined
from
Discord. Hi Millet, welcome. We are absolutely glad to have you.
We got a question. So the question is, how does leveling work again? Games are broken into chapters, and a chapter is basically a session. Really, it's like you have one big thing you want resolved, you resolve it. Like it could be a side quest, it could be like we'll have a guide on how to break it down into chapters and beats, because the Ethnis Core and Ethnis Light break into beats, chapters, and books. A book is a campaign, a chapter is like a larger arc, and a beat is like anytime you would put a scene change where it's like, okay, this beat, they're in town.
I got a good example, if I may.
Yeah.
So, you are entering the town of, let's just say, Gorshi. This Gorshi place, this town, is going to be your chapter. You could have your beats be like, you enter town, you explore what's going on with the locals, you get to the inn and you go to sleep. Beat done. Then you enter the next beat where you find out that there's some plot within Gorshi and you start fighting against it. And you go through maybe I would say 3 to 5 beats per chapter about.
Yeah.
Of course, that is all up to you. We obviously, if you find that a chapter can be done in 2 beats, then fantastic.
Yeah.
But the chapter is kind of the point in where you're saying, hey, this is where you've accomplished a really meaningful part of the story, so everyone levels up based off of it, and all these chapters come together to say, you're exploring this whole planet.
Yep. And
that's the book.
And to repeat an earlier thing, the campaign levels up, and the players and the narrator with it. The players get to spin their plot on their weapons, their armor, their mantle, and their savant. You don't level up your provenance and banner, but if you level up your savant, you unlock some more of your racial abilities, or you hone one. Unlock your mantle, you get some more abilities from it. Stats and gear, you become more physically powerful, or your gear becomes more physically powerful, essentially. Narrators spend their leveling points to get more abilities that they can use to help or harm you during play, depending on how many dice you have left over. So leveling is pretty straightforward because you only get 1 point to spend, and you just get one thing and you're good to go. And I'm going to avoid putting price tags on things like, oh, this one costs 2 points. My hope is that everything is just equally powerful, and so you just pick which one you want. Something we're talking about that we've gone back and forth on is that before each adventure or during downtime, narrators can swap in and swap out abilities instead of having them all available at once.
Like they have an arsenal of like 4 abilities, and the players know these abilities. So it's kind of like if you're in the stealthy section, you might have like alarm as a narrator ability, and you can kind of shape it to fit into a chapter or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So Rule Building Wizard asks, is there any viability for single player or GM and solo play styles? With Light, you probably want the GM. However, it would be possible to kind of play out the GM on your own by building him, having the abilities, and like you have no choice but to use those abilities on yourself if you left those in. Ethnis usually takes into account meta play, so even if a character is trying to meta play to do better at the game, like the game just works with that. So I think that would work. I don't know how fun it would be. I can't tell you that. In terms of GM and solo, that actually kind of leads to an interesting point. So all these abilities that the GM can get, some cost different amounts than others, or the narrator can get. So like one ability might just cost 2 dice to invoke, but there are narrator abilities that cost like 8. How well this game scales depends on how many we can think of and how much we can balance that. So for example, if you're a single player, you can ante up to 8 dice. Well, most of the time you're not going to use that, so most of the time the narrator will never be able to use their higher level abilities, but because you're one person, maybe that's not a big deal.
Exactly, like if you had a -8, something catastrophic is going to happen to, and if there's only one player to happen to, it would just be game over. So yeah. It might actually be an intelligent way to smart scale. Like if you're just playing with a single player, the worst that's going to happen to them is like a -4 or like a -6 if they really messed up.
Yeah.
But like -8s are kind of, it almost sounds like they're saved for like multiplayer. Like someone's going down, everyone else has to either rescue them or they die, things like that. So
the part I think where a game absolutely, like the number you probably don't want to go past is 4 or 5, because it would be super easy for the center dice pool to start wiping out the party pretty quick. When you go above, like if there was 8 players and each of them put 1 negative dice in the middle, that means that in that round someone's getting screwed over. So I don't know how that's going to scale yet.
It's going to be play tested, and I think it's going to be interesting as people get on board and as we get everyone going, like how it's fluid. It's going to have to be fluid. Yeah. This is like pre-alpha almost.
Yeah. So you're not asking about large parties, but for those who are curious about large parties, Ethnis Core has rules that are being implemented that allow for it, because I really like squad-based war games. I've not really played many of them, but I like watching them, and I like the idea of 10 or 20 players being able to huddle around a terrain table with their Ethnis character and having, like 40K, and having a big old player brawl, like a war. Because when you get to it happens in here. There's one of the mantles is the commander. He can have a minion. In Ethnis Core, the commander gets a lot more powerful, and we're talking like on the realm of like
leading a battalion.
Yeah, leading a battalion. So you may have 10 or 20 players at the table, but each of them may be carrying like a squad or a small battalion behind them. So we'll see how that goes. But if you want large scale, you definitely want Core. This can probably do single player, but it's probably going to be the strongest around 2 to 4 players. So, not counting the narrator. So.
Any more questions?
Yep.
You guys have been asking some fantastic ones.
So I think we're going to talk about some of our other projects, and we're going to loop back around to a question that the No Pants Bandit had, which is about eating contests. Tyler, can you tell us a bit about eating in Ethnis?
So one of my current projects is currently there's a lot going on with Ethnis, and one of them is short stories about Ethnis, and these are like novellas or unique little characteristics like that. So one of the things I'm working on, one of the short stories, is called Ethnis Eats, and it's essentially a very characteristic trio of people who go around the universe to all these planets, and they essentially break down the cuisine and of the individual planets that they go to. So Ethnis Eats, at the end of the day, is going to be a short story about a human planet that has come under some sort of culinary siege that these trios have been hired to, one, put on a show, and two, figure out about. But it is also going to be a cookbook. So it's been absolutely fun. I'm currently going through the first draft of it, and I'm really excited to get it out there. But when you said eating contest, it made me think of the main character, Dartezi, who is a Helic, which are essentially 8 foot tall, 7 to 8 foot tall, rotund, white furred Sazashi, and they're basically cultural savants. So, and this guy, he's the very, let's just say, I would say he's a mix between like Emerald Lagasse and Liberace.
Yeah.
So, it's been a lot of fun writing him, and I'm really excited to get this story out. So, yeah, there, and absolutely, I would think in some of the banners, besides just that project, a lot of the banners would have competitive eat to the death competitions, especially in Eden, probably.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Ethnis gets some proper absurdity, but we find a basis for it usually.
yeah.
So on that note, so Ethnis Eats is going to be one narrative experience with Ethnis. But there are more planned, and there's even one already out. There is a story called The Hive.
It causes goosebumps.
It is a 10,000 word short story, and it is exclusive to patrons. And I'm gonna kind of review the Patreons again, the Patreon ranks again, because there's quite a few, and which one you might be interested in kind of depends on what sort of experience you're looking for. So we have the core world, which will be, when we're done, it'll be about 100 articles. It'll teach you all the core lore. It'll tell you about the banners, tell you about the savant, all this other stuff. And then on top of that, there's the extended lore, and that's a lot more storytelling. It's extra lore. It's everything you don't need to know to play the game. And that is going to be locked behind it is already locked behind our, I get Adept and Master mixed up all the time.
$5 tier.
Yeah, it's going to be behind our $5 tier, which is the, making sure.
You also get voting privileges on what we actually work on at that level too. So it's not like you're just like, hey, here you go.
Yeah, we try to make it pretty good. So at layman, you're just saying thank you for, working on it. You're seeing the secrets right now, but whatever. On Adept, you get to read this extended lore, like the stories, like the Hive, and when Ethnis Eats is done, which we're 3 chapters in, and I need to polish them and put them up for him.
It's scary.
You get all that stuff, and then you get to vote on the lore. When you're a master, you get to do all of that, but you also get access to the RPG content. Now, we've been presenting Ethnis Light today. However, there was an 80-page Google Docs document of Ethnis Core that we have moved all of that rule set over to Anvil. It's there. A lot of core is there. It's just not visible to anyone but masters right now at the $10 tier. And they've been giving us feedback, and that's been really helpful. But core is not... We've been working on it for a while. It's not at a small stage. It's pretty far along. What we did is we wanted to put out Light as like a fun kind of trimmed down experience, but also we periodically make light versions of Ethnis to challenge ourselves to gut the core game and see what actually matters. So a lot of what we do in Ethnis Light is going to be put in the core. We're going to gut a bunch of stuff out of core so that we can make room for even more mechanics. Because the core game has stuff like body modification to the point of adding limbs, turning yourself into like a bioweapon. You can basically reenact the entire episode Sunny's Edge of Love, Death, and Robots. And being like anything that happened in that, I was watching it, I was like, that's Ethnis. Ethnis can do that. Ethnis has that. You can basically recreate any of the Avengers with the component system. You can have a spaceship. You can be a god. You can have a platoon of gods following you. Like, these are all things you can do in core, and we've made sure we've made the mechanics to fit them. So it's pretty high.
It's been our decade-long project.
Yeah, it's pretty high aspiration, and it's not just like we want to do it. It's done. We're just trying to make it like more legible, and we're still testing a lot of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, supporting Light supports core. Supporting supporting at the master tier gets you future Ethnis Light content like modules, but it also lets you start getting previews of core ahead of time, and maybe even getting invited into side games we do to test it. So it's all there.
There's a lot we're doing.
Yeah. So, check out, support. Anything is appreciated. Like he said, none of this goes into our pockets. We have an account set aside, goes all into that account, and that money goes towards our art, which I will now turn on some of the art that I forgot to turn on. And a lot of that is mine, but you will see Antti Hakasari's art in there. I cannot love that guy enough. He did 2 of our pieces so far. We're getting a run of 7. You can see the 2 pieces in these articles. They're the ones that look really good. Let me just open those real quick. And I'm even going to turn on the mantles so that you can see those. Because I'm going to open up the mantles page so you can get a good look at those. There's Antti's was up on the side a moment ago. So one of Antti's pieces, another's of Antti's pieces.
You'll see that little
yeah.
It's so cool seeing professionally drawn Sazashi. I just can't handle it.
So we're gonna get a lot more of his stuff. That's what support helps with. Conan is like a good place to look actually, because we've got he's got Ethnis Light. He is integrated into Heroes. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, if you want to say hi to him, interact with him, come to his profile, go to his Heroes page, say hi. Yes, it's totally us just puppeting him, of course.
But it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's called role-playing for a reason, people.
Yeah, interact with us. We're lovely.
We are very lovely.
Validate me. So these are the Marshall badges. If you want to, like the mantle badges, you can learn more about each one here. We're gonna have all 6 pages up soon. Right now we have the Marshall up and the Exemplar. So you can start seeing what those look like in terms of abilities, but all of them are actually public in the Ethnis Light SRD, which is on World Anvil already. Yeah, so yeah.
Whew. There's so much, man, and a lot of the things that we're doing next in regards to like the core lore is like we're working on the kinds and getting the kinds defined and figuring out how they're gonna.
What are kinds?
Kinds are races, pretty much like the Parasan, like
subtypes of Savant.
Yeah. So you have the Savant, which is the human Sazashi and Varen, but you have the kinds, which is like the Parasan underneath the Sazashi. There's the Kirmagne underneath the Sazashi. You've got the Sofea, you've got the Luea. It's basically what you play. It's what you choose when you
so these are the kinds of Varen.
Herbalist Mantle, absolutely.
That'd be a Gadgeteer, wouldn't it?
Huh?
Isn't that just the Gadgeteer?
It kind of would be the Gadgeteer, just like, because the thing is like with these mantles, you can pretty much make them whatever you want, or you can define your own, or you can take the ones that exist and kind of just tweak it to fit more of the visual status that you're going for. I think that's just a lot of Ethnis in general, is that We don't force you to choose like what your design is for what you're doing. If you say, hey, my armor has a burst pack that allows me to fly, that's all we as the DMs need to know. You can say whatever that burst pack looks like. You can say, oh, it's on my feet and it's 3 bursts, or it's on my back, or it's something I use with my hands. That's all up to you. And the same with the mantles, where it's like, I want to play an herbalist. So you say, okay, I'm a gadgeteer, but I'm going to say I mostly try to focus on the herbs. So.
Them dank herbs.
Oh, hey. Yeah. I would love to see what Janet and Demetrius would play in Ethnis. I can't wait to see that.
It's going to be just...
But yeah, some other things besides working on the different kinds. As we get Ethnis Light going more, and as we get more people interested, we definitely want to play some like streamed games. We want to get some modules out for it, so there's definitely ways just to take it and play it. And we just really want to explore this, and we want to explore it with you guys. So I'm excited to see how many people get interested because of this. I really have seen the Ethnis Discord server grow, which is super cool, and I look forward to playing with all these people. It's just, it's overwhelming, but it's amazing. So I'm kind of almost overwhelmed in the best possible way. What?
So yeah, if you want, come join Ethnis. It is a development server, so you will get pings and stuff about Ethnis. However, we're pretty open. We're pretty friendly. Yeah, why not? I'll show that.
Touché.
So
Happy tried to mess with us, saying he wouldn't be able to attend the stream, but then he's like, just kidding.
JK.
It's a social server. It's not just all business in there, so.
Yeah, so we've got, you can ask about Ethnis stuff. You can just hang out, show off your stuff. If you're a good member of the community, we're totally cool with you showing your stuff off.
We're all here to support each other.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You're also going to get lots of...
My memes on stream. Yep, you're darn right, Happy.
You're also going to get lots of updates about, the Ethnis.
Oh, wow. Go back down. Oh, that was the previous stream. I died.
Yep. So, you're welcome to join us. We're friendly. We're pretty casual a lot of the time.
He's in a lot of servers.
I'm in 100 servers.
If you invite him to a server, he has to leave another server.
Yeah. So this is an Ethnis server. This is an Ethnis server. This is Ethnis Light with Happy. This is where's some more Ethnis servers. This is an Ethnis server. This is an Ethnis server.
It's kind of like World Anvil, how there's the whole rainbow of World Anvil also. But anyways, let's go back. Is there any more questions, you guys, about Ethnis in general, or Ethnis Core, or the Discord, or anything else about us? I mean, we'd absolutely love to talk to you guys. We don't want Ethnis ever to be like a closed circuit where it's just us. We want you guys to be a part of it, absolutely. We've had a lot of people write, we have a few people write guest articles for Ethnis, which we absolutely have put in and given them total credit for. Those are the fan works. We have 3 of them so far. Question, where's my flower? What does that mean? She says JK, but now I'm going to take it seriously. Oh, there's the flower.
This is Anna's flower.
Nice flower, dude.
He's making an inside joke right now, and I'm going to hit him for it later. Anyway, Anna drew this, and I wrote an article around it, and it's her flower, and it tells how lovely she is, that she likes that a cannibalistic carnivorous flower is it's named for her. So what era of Ethnis we're setting? So it is all set in the same era as Core. It is meant for the same experience, granted a more limited experience. It's a galactic setting, intergalactic setting. There are hundreds of worlds.
7 banners.
7 banners. This is a very simplified version of this white screen. That's everything.
Ouch!
This is a very simplified version of the universe, broken down by the active galaxies. This is the hub worlds. When I am done, there is going to be a lot out here, but these are the hub worlds. You've got Via Lactea, which is where Church of the Somnolent is, otherwise known as the Milky Way galaxy, where we are. You've got.
That's where you live.
You're right here. We've got Tower Spoke, which is where.
Oh wow.
This is Ashir from. And Shamo, which is where the Varen Hierarchy is. Andromeda, which that may be a familiar term if you know your space stuff. These are all real galaxies, by the way. Andromeda, Nuage d'Argent, which is actually, like, I've renamed them, but they're actual galaxies. So you've got each of the banners represented here. These are the hub worlds. And then from here,
there's a lot of planets you can explore from there. Like, you're not limited to these 7 planets at all. There are.
Well, this is 12 planets on its own. The rest of the universe is supposed to be about 1,000 worlds. I'm not going to design 1,000 worlds. The game will walk you through how to make a new world, have your own adventure, and have your own thing going on, and that'll be that. But we are going to release modules, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And
they're all going to be in this era of, like, kind of galactic rising, where the banners are on the expansion.
Yeah. It's about 1,000 years from now. Earth is a thing. This just happened. This stream happened. Coincidentally, there was someone who was nattering on about Ethnis before it happened. I don't know. But point being, it's set in our world, just not. And humanity looks a lot different than you might expect. So there's a lot of lore there. If you want to explore it, it's all here. We're probably going to do a larger lore stream later. But anyway, ultimate goal for this, get it built up. We might do a Kickstarter for the last step for art. In which case, if we do, I think we're going to aim for a 24-hour live stream of us playing and slowly going insane. And
I cannot guarantee that won't be a mature rated stream.
Yeah, that one's
join the Discord. Do what Happy says.
Gonna require later.
If you don't listen to us, you have to listen to Happy.
Yeah,
because he's
Happy,
an adorable Frenchman. I don't know what that has to do with it, but you can't ignore the French. It's the lesson I want to take out of all
this.
They
won't let you.
They won't let you. That's rude.
We love you, Happy. Thank you for putting Ethnis and Minicia. Okay, so I think we are good.
Unless there's any more questions or anything else, guys. Yeah. We're tired, man. We were up until about 1 o'clock last night, just like making sure that we get as much prepared as we could, because our heart is behind this project. Like, it's kind of nuts because Ethnis we always see it as something that's gonna happen no matter what. Like, there's no other option. Ethnis has to be made.
So, go ahead.
But like it's finally getting there. It's finally getting to something where we can share it with you guys, and you guys can start playing it, and we can work with you guys. And to me, it's absolutely bonkers that, like, the last year or two, we've just been exploding in terms of progress and in terms of this. So get on board now, because things are going to start. This train is picking up speed. I tell you what. Ah! Mildeman! Ah! Thank you so much for joining the Patreon, my man. Ah, I love you. We will make you proud. I promise. Oh. You scared Panda.
Sorry.
I'm sorry about him. You scared TJ.
I never shared the fact that I can scream over a football field away.
Yeah, it's like an air raid siren.
I can go full air horn if I want.
I'm sorry, everybody, for him. Please.
That was at like.
If you don't want to hear him scream again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe, or I'll scream.
There you go. It's like the throat punching from Philip DeFranco.
Buy my merch, or I'll punch you in the throat.
Thank you for that subscription. Thank you so much. That's my bro. That's my bro right there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, we need to. I tell you what, No Pants Bandit, we need to get you into a local game.
We do.
That'd be fun.
We need a local game. Okay, so there was a question.
Oh? How long have you been working on this?
How long have I been working on this? Okay.
Okay, we'll start with you, and then we'll kind of get a brief timeline because this is a fun.
Thank you, second hand. Okay, so I've been a lot of ideas I had for Ethnis started like when I was little, like single digits. We're talking like 5 or 6. There's still characters now that existed then. They've changed a little bit.
That'd be what, 21 years now at this point?
Yeah, 22 years.
Ethnis is old enough to drink.
Oh, yeah, and it needs to. And it shows.
Sorry.
So I've been working on it for about 22 years, lore-wise. In high school, it started developing into a proper narrative universe. I published a book. I'm not going to share it because I'm trying to unpublish it currently. I would rather give it away for free.
It's antiquated.
Yeah, it's wrong lore and stuff. But anyway, it's nice, but it's not great, and it's wrong. But anyway, so I published at about 16. I went to college. I met a bunch of the people who are on the Discord server now, and we played a game of D&D, and I rage quit because some of the mechanics of D&D 3.5 made me mad. And I was like, wait, this is what passes for a game, and that was me being really proud. 3.5 is really a great game, but I was being a proud jerk, and we had a bad DM. Anyway, so I was like, I can make my own game, and that was like 10 years ago, so that tells you something. So anyway, I started an RPG. We started playing it. Back then, it was D10 based.
Yeah. I remember the first Ethnis game we played. We had to actually act out the magic spells.
Yeah, there was no stat sheets. I was just theater of mind running it.
And so
from there, the life happened. We graduated. Ethnis kind of, I wouldn't say took a backseat because we were running games, but it was very slow. And then Real Anvil happened 18 months ago.
Things exploded.
And that was the kick in the pants. I needed to go, basically, I want to make this professional. In that time, we have added close to 450,000 words to Real Anvil across him and I, and we have a couple of contributor authors. We've got Alara, and we've got Daniel Jackson. You can say hi to them on the server. And we've also got a friend, Artemis, who has done...
And we got Secondhand, who's done... Like, a lot of people do like these little micro, like, things of like it just inspires them to do something, and they're absolutely contributors.
Yeah. So it's been growing. So this version of like Ethnis Light, everything you saw in Ethnis Light we did in the last 2 months. So that kind of tells you how much we're producing in the background.
It's pretty much I work at my day job, and then I come here, I come home, and then I work on my good job.
Well, you go to your home. You don't come here.
I don't come here. Yeah, he doesn't want me to live with him because he knows I would drive him absolutely fucking bonkers. But anyways, so to answer your question, 21 years, 9 years.
Yep. But don't let that make you think again that it's going to take forever to come out.
Because this entire World Anvil page has been done in the progress of 1.5 years, and a lot of it is not just porting over. I would say like
20% of it.
20% of it is ported over, and the rest is brand new content. So it is picking up so much speed, which is why it's kind of overwhelming, because it was 9 years of kind of college and then getting everything established for work and just kind of idly playing some games, but the documentation and getting this out there as a product for everyone else has really started in the last like year and a half. Last question for me, can I play as a Night Elf Mohawk?
Night Elf Mohawk.
I mean, I guess maybe a Luea.
No, it'd be a Chea.
Chea, yeah, Chea, the Dark Elves.
You can play a Dark Elf with a Mohawk.
Yeah, Dark Elves are crazy. The Chea are crazy, man.
And we'll rename the Marshal into Mohawk. Sure, go ahead. Come on, join us.
Absolutely, you're in. You play what you want to play. If you want to get the surgery to get extra long ears.
So this is a visual of
Don't show them that. It's embarrassing. Oh my God, Secrets of Salmai. What a fun campaign that has been. This is a campaign that has made me vomit and cry several times.
So this is part, because there's still a lot that's not visible here because we haven't made it visible in any means. So, you know, just think about that.
Chaya for life, boy.
When
You know what No Pants is gonna play. You know what? That'd be awesome because I don't think really anyone's really played a Chaya.
Yeah, we haven't had enough.
Because they're the hunksicles of the Varen. Strong.
I think you've got a preference.
What? They are. They're absolutely freaking. They are the swole boys.
Yep. But they're not just the swole boys. They're the swole girls,
That's
and
true.
they're a matriarchal society.
Oh, I did not know that.
They highly respect their women.
That's good.
They love their mama.
Oh God, that was good. That was good. I like that question. All right. What else?
See, I think that's it. So, 22-10. We've
grown one.
yeah, we've linked all of our stuff. Again, if you want to,
We poured our hearts out.
yep, if you want to see Light, Ethnis Light RPG, it is public now. If you find a page that's not public, you can poke us, and we'll tell you if it's supposed to be public or private. Check out Ethnis. Check out all of our social media under the fold. And I think we're good. If you have any questions, let us know. If you want an actual conversation, like a longer conversation, join the Discord.
If you want to implement Ethnis Light into your world,
Join the Discord.
join the Discord. We will be there. We will 100% be there to support you, and we will work with you to make it happen.
And if you're curious about like what me talking about lore looks like, when someone asks a question that gets me going,
Oh no.
if I can find it.
Oftentimes, if you ask an article that gets things going, you'll get a
Text
freaking
wall or an
a
article.
text wall or an article.
Yeah.
So
Me when someone asks a lore question.
at 12 o'clock at night. Yeah. Oh God. We have fun. We try to have as much fun as we can at the server.
Someone asked a lore question. Oh, also, again,
Merch.
I
gotta get that merch.
all that got to me first was stickers, but I'm getting a tapestry. I'm getting T-shirts. There are cups. I would not recommend a cup because I think a circle kind of looks dumb on a cup. But
You're dumb.
You're dumb. Your face is
you.
Your face is dumb. But everything else, like, you know, check it out if you like it. If you want to buy it, if you don't, I won't blame you. But do watch it because a lot of the art that we're getting, I am going to convert into like posters. So there's going to be like
This one.
a really cool Kona poster. There's this one, which actually I did not get done. My mom surprised me by just taking one of my paintings and turning it into a canvas.
Welcome when we just go around this house and show you Ethnis things. Excuse me. It's a scavenger hunt. That'd be good on a t-shirt.
Yeah, I'll turn that one into a t-shirt. Again, credit to Antti Hakasari. He is an amazing artist for this one. That one was me.
We need to get. Oh God, I can't wait to work with him more.
So, yeah. Expect to see a lot more because we have a world building problem, and Dimitris and Janet, the owners of Roll Anvil, feed our addiction, and so we're just, you know, yeah. And we did most of this in a day, so you know, think what we can do with a lot more time.
I did that in 2 hours.
Yep.
Except for the stat sheets.
Yeah, I added this stuff.
But you know me, I
20
could
minutes.
write a freaking story on Kona and Nico. So.
Is that an offer?
Nope. Whose hand was it on the painting behind you guys? That was actually, if I recall, unless you want to answer,
You can attempt.
that the hand, this is all actually just a photo bash. It wasn't any of our hands. It was a free-to-use, stock image of someone's hand, and then he made, out of a couple of fireworks images, the magic spell that is in his hand. So we don't know who the original model is, but it was a stock photo that we just photo bashed into making something fan-diddly-tastic. And there it is. It's Mervin Chan.
That's the artist.
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate.
It's free art.
It was done in Hong Kong by Mervin Chan. It's unsplashed, so any of the art we have that I've photo bashed is on the level, so to speak, because I make sure that we are not stealing art. Because Ethnis ain't about that stealing art lifestyle. And I see that Real Building Wizard has the same hobby I do, which is when you see stock images to try and find the original, because it's kind of a fun, stupid little thing to do.
By the way, World Building Wizard, I saw that art you did yesterday. Where's our art? Can I pay you to do art? Because holy crap, that was amazing. But anyways.
Oh, the art of
yeah.
Lahuna? Yeah.
Also, Ashwell, thank you for the kind words. It sounds like you're super busy, but I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us, and I really hope that things loosen up and you can take Ethnis Light for a spin in your world. And Happy is just always the best. I love Happy. He's just the absolute.
Oh, and before I go, God, I meant to really turn these on at the start. So
we are just absolutely. We're just having fun now, guys. I mean, pretty much.
Over there.
Oh, the FPF logo is gonna be amazing.
Bam. Wait, turn on.
What? What? The
Why didn't it
little
turn on?
Ethnis Light logo?
Oh, never mind. It's delayed. I'm looking on the screen. Like, where is it? Okay, so Ethnis Light. That is the logo for it. Ethnis is hosted on Real Anvil, and we are proud supporters of Heroes. With our hero, Kona. Like I said, you can interact with him. We will be making our narrative characters on there. I have made mine. Come say hi to Kona. But also, as I go, I will be updating my own profile if I can find it.
We plan on using heroes, I think. It sounds like it, to make some narrator characters that you guys can use for your campaigns.
Yeah, so something fun you can do is you can have your party on Rolled Anvil, and the narrator has an excuse to interact with them because that's your role. Like, if the players interact with each other, the narrator is a character in Ethnis, but not in Ethnis, who interacts with the players at the table. So you're in character, and it really helps you, like, because sometimes when you're playing a game, you don't want to be too mean on your players, and so now you can be like, it's not me, it's the narrator, he's the jerk. So
break that fourth wall like Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool.
Yep. So please don't make a Deadpool narrator. That's a short-lived game.
Yeah, that would be Hedon. That would absolutely be a Hedon campaign.
Yep. So anyway, it was great to have you all. If you have any questions, pop on the Discord, because we're going to call the stream and go enjoy the rest of our 3-day weekend. But we will be on the server, so you are always welcome there. We love having people there. We like it being a talkative server.
We gotta give our thanks to everyone who donated.
Oh yeah. Where is the list?
I can see. Millidamin, thank you so much for the $1, man. I really appreciate it. $1 bits. Happy, $4.02. Thank you so much. And Basic Dragon dropping the 8 bomb on us. Thank you so much for that one. We really appreciate all that support. All that money is going straight into the next commission from Auntie. So thank you so much. I know we had a couple of subscribers. I know we had, let's see, I know Sasha was one. Notepads Bandit, thank you so much.
God, I love that name.
It is an absolutely great name. Let's see, did I miss anyone else? If I missed anyone else, I'm so sorry. It's hard to keep track of this stuff. It should say, oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Did I miss anyone?
I think you got Basic Dragon, Notepads Bandit, Happy, Sasha, Basic Dragon.
A&R, that I think we actually are gonna maybe be doing. Well, we already have some good A&R. So
yeah, so the A&R was done by me and another artist, but we will someday get some good art. So so here's the plans for arts going forward. We have the 7 banners, and the 7 banners are my brain.
Hedon, Vow of Save the Pact, Federation of Free Planets, House of Sorrows, Jupiter Syndicate, Church of the Somnolent, and the Baron Hierarchy.
So we have our 7 banners, and we're getting one person done from each banner who is like an Ethnis Light level character. So we've got Kona here, and really in lore, Kona is this very powerful guy. But the art we have is fairly toned back because it's not him in his full set of armor, which is like more Space Marine-y, so to speak. So this is about like how you would expect to look like as a level 1 hero in Ethnis Light, and then we have the Varen, which this represents the Varen Hierarchy hero, and Kona's the Pact hero, and so we're getting 7 done of this level of quality by Anti-Hakasari to show what an Ethnis Light hero can look like. Now on the other side of that, I would like to get Anti to do drawings of all 28 Savant in Ethnis. However,
that's a lot of money.
I don't want to live in a cardboard box, so I need your all support to help me with that, because that's a lot of art. And I've got a pretty good deal with him, but that's still a lot of art. So, everyone's help helps. It actually does make a difference. Like you pointed out, our last one of Kona was funded by you guys. So we're at a pretty good rate right now, but as we grow and grow, there comes a point where everyone's help gets a constant stream of art. It gets us publicity so that we can actually start selling in markets, so that we don't have to rely on the Patreon.
And I will say, even if you can't give money, sharing Ethnis, just kind of following us on Twitter and just being there for us in any way you can, really does help. It really does help. But anyways, I think
we're good.
I think we're good. I should say thank you again, KVM Summer, for the work in progress music, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes, because I've listened to that piece of work so much, and I only know it's going to be better and better. So thank you all for being here. Much love to you all. Look forward to seeing you around in the Discord, seeing you everywhere else. But I think that's going to be it. Any final words, Anvil?
Yeah. Stay around and listen to No Pants Bandit's music, because...
No, that's not No Pants Bandit.
It's not No Pants Bandit?
That's the other brother.
Oh, the other brother that can't deny.
Nope. The Data Lust, if you see him in the Discord, is the brother doing the music.
Okay, well, NVR Summer is the band, and they're doing the Ethnis theme, so what you're about to hear is our official music. So... let us know what you think. But let us know in the Discord. Get in the Discord. We're going to just keep harping on you guys to get in the Discord.
Because we're jerks. No, we're not. We're just nerds.
Anyway, I think that is Adamalt and Baron signing off.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.